Hi, chat. Welcome. Welcome to a casual Monday stream here. I am just hanging out today. I was on Flashcast on Saturday, and that was fun. Anna invited me on. I don't know if you caught that or not. Oh, I got to move my background. 1 second. By the way, this is Oppenheimer. I'm still representing the Oppenheimer. I just love that movie, and it's doing well at the box office. So we're talking about movies today and Hollywood and writing and all these things because I have a guest actor, writer. His name is Andrew Ortiz. I want to welcome him to the stream, and we're going to just kind of talk about some stuff. So welcome, Andrew, to the stream.
Hello, Lofty.
Hi. Oh, Ammon says that there's a nuke behind me. Don't panic. I'm not panicking. I got plenty of time to get out of the way. Have you seen Oppenheimer?
I have not. What was it? You're supposed to see Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Barbenheimer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to see Barbie, so I was like, well, I guess I can't see Oppenheimer. So
yeah, there's something magical about seeing them together, and if you see them separately, it just ruins the fun. But no. So yeah. Welcome to my stream. What I do, I kind of have guests on as many as I can. I try to do a lot of networking and talk about a bunch of different topics. Like my passion is like film, and like I went to film school, and that's kind of my passion. And then I talk about anime, video games, comics, all kinds of stuff. But today we're talking about how I guess. Well, I would like you to introduce yourself because I'm assuming people here might not know who you are. So feel free to give a little bit of a brief intro and talk about yourself and your project, maybe.
Sure. As the last name would have you believe, I am in fact Hispanic, although I do not look it. I am a Jewish-looking Puerto Rican.
Interesting.
Yeah. Was an actor, stage. Eventually wrote some stage plays, and then did the theater. Went to L.A. Was in L.A. 13 years. You start off doing background, then a few national commercials, a few television shows, and then COVID, and then bye LA. So back in the hometown near Reading, Pennsylvania.
Wow. COVID was the reason why you left?
I mean, it was a factor of things. We were there 13 years, and each year, probably after year 10, we would kind of reevaluate.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay longer? Do you want to stay longer? My wife had a pretty good job. I got my first national commercial, so we stayed again, and then I got another national commercial, then we stayed again, then she got a raise, then things are great. Then 8 months of a lockdown. We realized that with the amount of money we had saved, we could put a down payment on a house if we went back to where we had met, which is Pennsylvania. And my wife's parents are actually around the same age as my grandfather, so they're a bit up there, and health issues and all those things kind of just happened all at once, and we just came back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a pretty big because I'm from PA too, so there's a pretty big arts community out here. People weren't aware. And I guess that's kind of how we network through mutual family friend, and then you worked with this person, and then basically I found out about your project on Kickstarter.
Yes.
And then one thing or another, and also I have other friends of mine who are doing campaigns currently on Indiegogo, and I just thought maybe this might be a fun. It's interesting because chat will kind of know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of people right now trying to break into various industries independently, and a lot of the stuff I'm familiar with is sort of the comic industry. It's much easier to break into that industry and kind of fund yourself as a comic artist or a writer than what you're doing, which is television, or however you would describe that. How would you describe that, what you're trying to do?
It would be more in along the lines of something that you'd see streaming. So it's a single camera, so shot like a movie, not a 3-camera studio audience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so made more like a film, more suitable for, well, nowadays more suitable for streaming.
Streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hanan says Razor calls it the Iron Age. Yeah, I think Iron
Gold,
Age
silver,
is
bronze, iron. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Iron Age is sort of like this concept of this like new industry of independent creators starting from sort of the ground up. The issue with the comic thing is that Disney or not Disney, Marvel, DC, a lot of these big studio comic publishers are sort of ruining comics in a lot of ways, and so people are kind of upset about it and voicing their expectations by doing their own thing.
And do you think the people that are complaining are more just the people who loved the comics, or do you think they're people who didn't even know the comics and still think the movies are trash?
Well, the comic thing was more of a problem before the movies became a problem, but however, they're definitely linked. So there's a lot of people that don't read comics that are also concerned with the trajectory of Disney and what they're doing with all these franchises, and not staying true to the source material. But the comic thing is a little bit separate. Like the actual comic community, the comic publishers are like sort of just ruining everything, and like they're rebooting things they don't need to. They're adding race swapping, gender swapping characters left and right, and it's kind of two separate things, but they're also tied together. Oh, hi Zax, what's up, buddy? But we've been talking about this, and it's like some people are like, there was San Diego Comic-Con was just last week, and a friend of mine, Chris Gore, and Eric July, I think Eric July was in that panel. Was he, guys? The indie panel, indie filmmaking or whatever. But they talked about this sort of how to break into independent, I guess, television or filmmaking. And I think fundraising was like a big focus. I didn't actually get to watch the panel, but yeah, but it seems like that's what you're doing. I can pull up here. Let me just do this quick. Let me do my share screen.
Oh no.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah. So here's your Kickstarter, and if you want to talk, we'll talk about this for a little bit, and then we'll like kind of go into different directions, and we'll come back to this at the end, and then we'll just yeah. So if you want to maybe let us know, we can actually watch this too if you want.
Oh boy, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Should we do you want to do an intro to the intro, or should we go ahead?
I'll do an intro to the intro. I hate watching myself. Yeah, an actor who hates watching himself. Go figure.
They all do. Apparently, they all do.
I think they will. I think they will.
Probably.
So yeah, I started writing the script in 2018 and kept it going, and then I got a literary manager, and so things were looking up. And like I said, everything came to a halt. Moved back to Pennsylvania, and I got it into the hands of a very big time producer, actually. Back and forth, loved it. Not for us right now. I got a famous executive producer from a famous TV show. Just me networking, finding these people, not paying for services or like anything like that to get people to read it. Loved it. Yeah. Nothing I can do for you right now. The whole world shut down. And all of a sudden I thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe, no more. And my dad, we moved back to my hometown. He said, my friend owns a hotel. I said, oh yeah, that's great, Dad. Well, he said, I bet he'd let you film there. I'm like, Dad, you don't walk into a hotel. And my dad's like, just come out to eat. And the owner was like, yeah, you can film it here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so that was a shock. And I thought, well, I couldn't get a crew. I'm out and I'm all the way back here. I'm not. Then it turns out a crew I had worked with in LA, one of their spouses was from here, and they all moved back to like 15 minutes down the road from me. And it's a crew I had worked with in Los Angeles, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it." And I was like, "Well, all right, I guess we're gonna try and do it now."
Wow.
But yeah. So we came up with a budget and making crazy videos all the time, nothing but networking. And it is, when I was writing it, some people were saying, "Are you sure you want to say that?" And I was like, "Why can't my character say that?" They're like, "Well, it's not." Like, it's not what? They're like, "Well, you shouldn't really." Who says I should? Well, some people. What people? And they never have an answer. It's a little scary to. So I just wrote it the way I wanted to write it, and there's a nice explanation right at this video.
That's interesting. When were you talking about this? Like when you were writing this in LA, or people had issues?
In LA, yeah. In LA, it was my whole life, if I could just slight side step.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
It was never an issue that my father was Puerto Rican and my mother was white. My last name, my entire existence meant nothing. It didn't come up. A lot of people were shocked if they just met me as Andrew and then, "Oh my God, you're Hispanic." I never would have guessed. It was no big deal. I go out into LA and all of a sudden, probably around 2017, all of a sudden I have this like minimalistic, because I'm a straight male, so that was 2 points against me, but I would have this little get out of jail free card. I would join conversations, say we're at work or we're on a set, maybe socio-political, not like blue and red politics, but just social stuff. And I might step into the group and say, I heard that same thing, and then I read this, and man, it's just crazy. And someone would say, "Oh, I don't know if you should say that." And then someone else in the group would go, "Oh, no, he's Hispanic." And they went, "Oh, I'm sorry, continue. What were you saying?"
Wow.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
It was real, and these people, the ones I'm talking about, some of them I know, and they're just laid back people, yet slowly but surely. And so then I would just tell everyone as soon as I met them, "Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm Hispanic." And then it was just like,
so your ethnicity is now your pronoun.
Oh yeah. Andrew, PR for Puerto Rican. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I have a friend who's half Cuban. Well, an acquaintance. Chat knows who Destiny is, but I've met him a few times. But he's half Cuban, and people don't know. And then he's getting these weird. I guess he would say that he has this weird sort of privilege in certain conversations, I guess. But he's just a white guy, like. But it's just whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. That's interesting. And so your show is called Checked Out, and I thought this was interesting. A naive, overzealous staff from a luxury hotel in Philly keep moving forward in the face of PC culture. I thought this was fun because I used to work at a luxury hotel for a couple years.
I work at a resort. Yeah.
Yeah, and you if you have done that before, even if you work at a restaurant or something, you just know about, like, everybody has experienced all these quirky, weird sort of people. It's a perfect setting for for like this sort of vibe that you're going with, I think.
Yeah, when I started to write it, I thought, where is a location where I could have any plot line most likely make sense? I could have any character walk in if there's something I wanted to say through the show. And I was just like, well, it's obviously a hotel because anyone can be there for any reason from anywhere.
Yes.
And it can add to the chaos or the comedy.
Yeah, and I used to, like I said, I worked at a fine dining hotel restaurant, and then I worked at like a Marriott for a couple of years. And the Marriott was fun because we would do these conventions all the time, and weird, like every week was totally random. Like one week would be the local conservative convention where Newt Gingrich came to speak one year. And then the next week would be like John Lennon would show up for some sort of like rich people function.
I'm sorry, did you just say
John Legend? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, because that would have been impressive, my friend.
Yeah.
Holy Lord.
No, John Legend.
Yeah.
Is the audio okay, Chad, on the stream? It should be fine. I'll check that quick. But and then the next week we would have yeah, John Legend was actually I met him in an elevator at the hotel. I was serving food, and one second. I think the audio is fine. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
All good.
Tom Lennon is still alive. Yeah. No, I met him in an elevator. He was doing a little speech at the hotel convention thing. He was late. Then he said, "I like your tie, man." And I was like, "No, I like your tie." His tie was actually like a cool bow tie.
Right. Now, be honest. Did you have on a cool tie?
No, I had on a generic black tie, tuxedo tie, or whatever.
Why did he say that? What was he doing?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I said it first. I can't remember who said it first, but he was shorter than me, and I was like, "Whoa, you're tiny."
Well, let me just say this:
yeah.
I never catered an event at his house, and at the event that I never catered at his house, one of the people in charge was not giving everyone joints as they walked in the door.
Oh my god,
that never happened. So
right, it happens in some other dimension.
Right. Yeah, no, not even another. No, it didn't happen anywhere.
Anywhere, not at all.
That's the important part of the non-story that I just did not tell.
I understand.
Yeah.
And but I understand what you. And then I was going to bring up this other thing because one time we had a Christmas in July convention where all these like old people showed up celebrating Christmas in July with sweaters and stuff. Like it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So. So whatever your idea is, like, has infinite possibilities of like random events and things, which I think is cool. And people and things. Now you wrote the script for the pilot. Is that correct?
Yes.
And let's see. This is the Kickstarter. So the story here, if you guys want to go, it's just Andrew Ortiz, checked out on Kickstarter. I have the link in the description, by the way.
Sweet.
If you guys want to check it out, I will also post the link in the here right now during the stream, right on the comments. I posted it there. And I'll have my mods. Mods, raise your hand if you're here. Do I have a mod here? If you guys want to repost that every once in a while. But do you want to play this, or do you just want to like you think you maybe covered sort of the basics?
I'll cover it here. That way I don't have to.
Yeah, go for it.
Cringe. So I made the cast very diverse, the characters.
Yep.
And it's politically incorrect. People, I watch people on YouTube a lot reaction videos.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, 17 to 24. And they'll watch something from the 90s or the 2000s that is considered inappropriate now by, I don't know, someone out there who has everyone else thinking that it's inappropriate. And I'm thinking, oh no, these young kids this is not for them. They laugh, they're hysterical, and they all say the same thing. They don't make comedies like this anymore. Yeah. They don't make comedy like this anymore. You could never say that. Oh my gosh, that was so funny, but you couldn't get away with it today. And I'm like, well, all of you are young. You're a different generation than the generation that watched whatever show it is you're watching. And you think it's funny. And they obviously thought it was funny. And everyone still watches all these different shows that are quote unquote politically incorrect and laughs. So what's the problem? What are you doing? Another one, Tropic Thunder. Tell me you've seen Tropic Thunder. Okay. Yes. Wow. Okay. Just wow. And everyone that watches it that I know likes it and they think it's hilarious.
And even Downey Jr. thinks it's funny. He was on Joe Rogan and he talked about that, I think.
Yeah. I saw that on Rogan. I have a bad feeling about this, Bobby. Yeah. It's
interesting. The humor is still funny to most people. The issue is that people are this is kind of the vibe. This is what I think is happening. I think people who are who have this weird almost like I don't know if it's like a deficiency or something, but they're like super overly empathetic and like they think on behalf of other people constantly. So they're like,
Low
oh,
T.
this person that I'm imagining in my head might be offended by this joke. And it's like, and they think it's 75% of the whole world is what they're who they're defending, right? From these offensive jokes. But it's more like what, 2% probably of the of the world, really.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And
If the people on social media share one specific point of view, you
yeah,
know, quote unquote, the elites, then it everyone starts to think, oh, this is how people feel. Like this was retweeted 100,000 times, so
right.
therefore, almost everyone I know must feel this way. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, how many of the retweets were people who thought it was stupid? How many of the retweets were people who liked it? How
we're
many of the
bots.
retweets were
Yeah,
bots? And 100,000, I don't know if you know how many people there are just in the country, but that's
yeah,
not a lot.
it's not a lot.
Even if there was a million,
Yeah,
that's not a lot. And the people you meet, and especially when I was out in LA, there would be people who, you know, when they type on that screen on whatever social platform they're on, they say one thing, but then you get to know them and they loosen up around you, and they almost are exactly the same place that they say they're not.
it's
You know,
true.
yeah, it's being canceled. I think a lot of it comes from being canceled. It's like
Yeah,
I have to sort of put on at the very least a small bit of a persona or almost a caricature or character. I have to kind of act a little bit for a wide group of people, but when I'm in my circle, then I'm myself. And so many people are very, very loose
yes.
uh, with their verbiage, as well as their attitudes and stuff like that when they're comfortable.
This reminds me of a show called Succession. I don't know if you've seen this show on HBO, I believe. It just finished. It's like it's a really popular show. But it's about this like sort of thing you're talking about, which is like people in the public eye will kind of behave a certain way, and then in private, like they're just kind of like everybody else, you know, like you know, in offensive jokes and things like this is just kind of how people deal with, you know, um, social anxieties and things like that. There's nothing wrong with any of this stuff, really.
And so much of it is context. When you're amongst
Yeah.
friends, your friends know where your heart is, they know your sense of humor, and
Yep.
so you can say what would sometimes be considered offensive things around them, but without that context. And a lot of people, even if there was no cancel culture and no social media, a lot of people without context, there'd be plenty of things they wouldn't say out and about that they would still say to people who know them.
Of course. And you mentioned the show is politically incorrect. This just seems to me like there's this weird verbiage that people don't use words anymore the same way as other people are using them. So like the word woke gets thrown around constantly, and it's like, what does it actually mean? um, and then the same thing with like anti woke or things like that. Like, would you consider like this is how I think like creativity and like you know, good storytelling and good writing and things like that is just it's not anything. It's just it's not woke, it's not anti-woke, it's not politically correct. It's just like it leaves the door open for pretty much anything, whatever services the story. Was that kind of how you see it also?
Yes, I think if I'm watching a show and
Yeah.
a character says something funny that's a little politically incorrect,
Right.
and of course I laugh because it's funny, but then the writer makes sure that the next character standing next to him goes, well, you know, you probably shouldn't say that because dot 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 and dot dot dot, and that's why the joke you just said is offensive. And basically
Yeah.
that's like they're like trying to get out of, well, I said that joke, but then
Yeah.
I'll have the character who may be a female or a black person or a Hispanic person, whoever the joke was against, they'll come in and make sure the audience knows that I, the writer, knew that that was offensive and explained
Yeah.
why it is. And I'm like, that is like woke writing, where they can't just
Yes.
have the characters be the characters. They have to constantly, I don't know, apologize in the middle of a scene to whomever.
Yes, and the character has to be the butt of the joke, always the offensive character, and then the righteous character is always like the one correcting them. And yeah, I totally understand. That's bad writing.
Yeah.
That's just not good writing. And then, but the other direction, like if somebody makes a show or a movie that has, I don't know, environmentalist or feminist messaging, it depends on how it's really presented. It's not always woke. It's not always too much. Sometimes it's, like some of my favorite movies are sort of feminist presenting. Like I talk about Kill Bill all the time. It's very pro woman. It's an action movie, obviously, but another one is I don't know if you're a fan of Studio Ghibli, but Hayao Miyazaki, the animation studio. A lot of his films are very pro woman, feminist oriented, but they're just like presenting femininity as like it as an existing thing, and it's just like it's not pushing some sort of new wave 2023 redefined concept of femininity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of, yeah, I just think both sides can go a little bit just too far in that direction sometimes, but yeah.
An interesting movie that kind of touches on that, The Hunt.
I saw The Hunt.
Yeah, where they even talk that they had like a conservative writer and a non-conservative writer, more
Yeah.
liberal, I guess, and that they would even write the opposite jokes for the opposite political point of view because they had characters that were very right or blue collar, maybe is a better way to say it, and elites.
Exactly.
And I thought that was an amazing thing they did. And it works. Oh, it also works. Sorry, I'm jumping around. It also works on SNL when the two guys are at the desk and the black guy's like, I wrote all the jokes the white guy's going to say tonight. And the white guy says, I wrote all the jokes the black guy's going to say tonight. And they're totally politically incorrect. What's probably most people would say is across the line.
Yeah.
But they had to let you know, just so you know, the black guy wrote that joke and the white guy wrote that joke. So it's okay. Which is a great way to get around it. I just wish we didn't have to do that.
I agree. If you want to give me 10 seconds, I have to shut my door. I'll be right back. If you want to talk about your story quick to the audience and maybe give a little pitch for I don't know if you want to spoil anything, but if there's anything else to talk about, you can go. I'll be back in a few seconds. Sorry about that.
Sure. Oh, geez Louise. So you got the staff at the hotel. You have Tweedledum and Tweedledummer at the front desk. You have the manager of the hotel, who, get this, is a woman, who's into Zen and Eastern philosophy and kind of the ditzy character. You have a Mexican gentleman who loves America and likes to make things big and beautiful and better than anyone else, and no one does anything better than he does. And in our pilot, he has just finished completing a wall at the hotel and is involved in a nonstop parody when he constantly doesn't say he painted the wall. He just decides to call it the wall, and things can get a little out of hand that way. It's mainly about the staff. In the pilot, I don't bring in a lot of outside characters who are just staying at the hotel. I keep it mainly the staff, so you can get to know them. You have Mr. Thong, Vietnamese gentleman who rents out the penthouse suite year round.
Mr. Thong. I saw something you did on Instagram with Mr. Thong or something somewhere.
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, and even on the YouTube, there's like a Checked Out Pilot YouTube page. I did character introductions, and I did it in black and white with a cigarette in my hand, a la Rod Serling from The Twilight Zone.
I saw that. I like that. Oh, by the way, Minor Zekron, thank you for the $2 donation. What's Pineapple and Lofty Holmo? I see what you did there. Thanks for the pineapple donation again. This guy likes pineapples. Minor Zekron. I see you all over every stream, buddy. What's going on?
Oh, what show was that with the pineapples?
I don't know. SpongeBob.
There was a pineapple. There was a pineapple in every scene. Wasn't it a pineapple? It was some single camera sitcom, and they always would have a pineapple hidden. Psych. Is that it?
Psych. Oh wow.
Psych. I think that was it.
That's interesting.
Dang
Good
it.
little
If
trivia.
anybody knows, write it down. They would have one pineapple shown somewhere in every episode.
Does Mr. Thong get ladies every episode?
Not every episode, but that may come into play. Yeah.
That's exciting, man. Yeah. So guys, if you want to back this project, there's this whole thing here. You can go down and support. There's different pledges. There's rewards here. Different donations. If even if you just want to keep an eye on this project as it goes along, make there's up here. I believe you can just make a pledge here also. And help. The issue is like we all should just be helping support like independent art. I think especially now, which is like the whole writer's strike, SAG actor strike thing. It's kind of like opening the door for a lot of stuff like this to kind of blow up. I don't know what your opinion is on all that, but yeah.
Interesting. So the main thing, at least with the actors, and well, I wouldn't want to say main thing. One of the things with the actors, and I believe also the writers, is in their contracts they had negotiated everything for network and for cable. So those were their contracts. Well, now streaming showed up, and they don't have official rules for streaming, and now not everything, a lot of stuff is becoming streaming, and they're like, okay, this needs to get into the contract. We have network, cable. We need rules for streaming because we're getting, screwed out of
right royalties, or residuals or whatever. I guess residuals is the correct term for that. But yes, and the studios. I've talked about this a couple times on the stream. We've done a whole big breakdown of the WGA negotiations, and we looked at the demands and everything. And it sounds like the studios are kind of having a hard time with it, and they're terminating some contracts, and they're doing weird things right now. I know a friend of mine who's making a movie in Austin, Texas right now, and it's an independent project. He's actually working apparently with some SAG actors. I won't name any names, but apparently these things are happening, and people are kind of. Even people like, who was it, chat? Was it Mark Ruffalo? I think it was Mark Ruffalo. He said on Twitter, oh man, what was it? I might be able to bring this up actually.
He actually said something intelligent on Twitter.
Yeah, he said one thing. I think I found it. I think I found it here. Hold on. Here it is. So Mark Ruffalo urges actors to jump into indie film, exit the empire of billionaires. So what he actually said was, how about we all jump into indies now? He wrote, content creators and creators create a film, TV making system alongside the studio and streaming networks. So there's actual competition. Then we just, what we always do, create content, take it ourselves, and we share those sales. I don't know exactly what he's talking about, but I would encourage people to support indie artists, and I think it's a good idea. I just don't know what he's talking about. Do you?
Yeah. How about Belgium indies? Content creators.
It just sounds like he's
content creators create TV. Yes, yes. So then indie people can create a studio and streaming networks.
Well, like A24, for example, has no obligation to the studio contract strike, stuff. I think they're actually working with actors and writers right now, A24, because they've signed separate contracts. Am I correct? I think that's right.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Just the money's got to come from somewhere, and right now the studios have lots of money.
Yeah, and yes. And I think projects like this are good. Like I said, my friend's doing a short film in Austin, and other people I know are working on things in LA. I know another friend of mine just produced a documentary independently. And you're doing your project here with with checked out. And a big thing is, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. These are very good options for people to kind of promote themselves and get, maybe especially now the best thing to do is combine fundraising and Kickstarter and things like that with like networking and getting involved in various communities, like friends of mine who do comic books. My friend Drunk 3PO, just, I don't know how much he raised, but a lot of money. And he's kind of, in this big YouTube community space, and all of, a bunch of us kind of had him come on our streams and talk about his fundraiser, and then kind of network that way. And then he got the word of mouth was kind of insane. And then, a lot of these people are, I'm very friendly with a bunch of other streamers, and like they're very accommodating and very supportive of independent artists. So that's kind of that's like the best way to do it, really. Yeah.
Once I decided I was, definitely going to do it here, obviously, a local gentleman opened the door. So I just went with starting to push it towards local businesses and business owners. And I've actually had great feedback. I would just post like a video every day on like my Facebook and Instagram and all that. Just silly, funny stuff, nothing too serious. And someone responded who is quite a prominent figure, just because I referenced their company.
Oh.
And so we're going to finish up our talks tomorrow. So that would be exciting if that person jumped on board. But I figured I'm a local guy who went to LA, who's now back where he came from, and made it a community project.
Yeah, that's a great angle for something like this, for sure. Community, local stuff, Philly. And Philly's not a stranger for like small, low budget filmmaking. I mean, Shyamalan's made a career out of Philadelphia, so a lot of filmmakers use. I think Aronofsky premieres a lot of his stuff in Philly. That's where I saw Black Swan for the first time. But yeah, it's a good location. And is this the exact hotel that you're thinking of using? This picture?
Well, hold on. I mean, I know the answer, but I just want to make sure something's not. And the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay.
that is yeah.
And I don't recognize it, but I think it's a great, because The Office had its kind of office-y vibe too. Like the setting is very office-y, but like having a hotel I guess you could do other similar settings, but a hotel to me is like the most interesting because of all the different rooms, the convention centers. Like we were talking about this earlier, like all that kind of stuff. It just lends itself to a variety.
And because hotel, you have a catering department, you'll have a restaurant, you'll have sometimes a gym, a pool, you'll have a parking garage. Like there's so
tennis courts.
many.
Yeah, random stuff. Yeah. Sometimes I've been to tennis court hotel. I fine dining restaurant hotel that I used to work at. We had a tennis court. We had a golf course. We had, 2 restaurants, a big hotel, motel, very fancy.
Nice.
Very weird people. Especially guests would show up. Like, I guess I could give an example. This one guy would come every weekend, every Friday with a new girl. He's like, I would say he was like 70 years old, and he would come to he would stay at the hotel. He's out of state even. I don't even know where he comes from, but and he would just bring a new girl to the restaurant, and then the next week he would be with a different girl, and like, it's weird. I don't even know how to describe it, what it was, but it was like this escort.
I think we all know what it was. Yeah. You don't have to describe it.
Yeah. And it was like, well, there's that guy, and he's in again today. And so that was that character. And then there was like always foreigners that were staying there that were telling weird stories. There was always like golfers, and yeah, it's a fun atmosphere.
The craziest group of people that we ever had where I was, while I was catering, the hotel had its banquets kind of, it goes up to the top floor, but then it kind of bleeds onto the building next door. And we did an event, and it was the people who came up with the technology for hair transplants. Okay, so these are all, I guess, geeky, nerdy guys who came up with the software. So a huge event, like minimum 1,000 people. And I was kind of overseeing a section, and one guy walked by me, a server with a tray, and I'm like, all right, guys, go this way, go this way. And he goes, do I look shady to you? And I went, why? What's wrong? No, you look fine. He's like, so I don't look shady? I'm like, we'll talk about this later. Can you please just, keep the line moving? So later I found him. I'm like, what were you talking about? He's like, well, I was at that one end of the room there. This is how he spoke. That's why I'm doing it. And he said, and the one guy asked me, the guest said, where could he score some cocaine? I said, really? He goes, yeah. And I thought, well, do I look like someone that would know where to get cocaine, sir? And I said, no, you look fine. And the guy next to me went, wait. Was that, you're talking about tonight? He goes, yeah, that happened tonight. He goes, dude, some other guy down at the other end asked me to go back with him to his hotel room. And then someone else comes up and goes, I was in the other corner, and this guy wanted me to go smoke a joint with him. And like every server.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so people that invented hair transplants are party animals.
They are wow. I wouldn't expect. Interesting. Well, they're also very rich, so that makes sense. Exactly. There's a whole scene. There's a whole episode revolving around a similar situation in the show Succession, where this guy's just trying to get cocaine at a party, and like this rich people, and it's very funny and sort of disturbing. But highly recommend. It's one of my favorite shows, man. There's this kind of misconception, I think, where people think Hollywood. It depends who you talk to, but a lot of people are very upset with the direction that Hollywood is kind of going and taking these shows that they grew up with, and making them woke or just kind of ruining the nostalgia by like modernizing it and stuff, and it turns people off, and then they stop watching. They unsubscribe from all these streaming services, and meanwhile, I'm actually enjoying a lot of shows. I think there's this weird thing. It's like there's still a lot of good stuff being made, but some of it is so bad, and it's so people are sort of triggered by some of it to the point where they don't care anymore. They don't pay attention. So shows like Severance, which is Ben Stiller's show, new show on Apple TV, is fantastic. If you haven't seen Severance, I recommend it. It's Ben Stiller writing a science fiction comedy. It's incredible.
It's Ben Stiller?
Yeah, it's Ben Stiller's show, and it's basically.
I'm definitely going to see it. He's cool.
He's fantastic.
He's a normal human.
Yeah, and it's literally about a company that you work for, that when you walk into the building and go down the elevator, your mind is severed into an alternate person. And when you get to the bottom of the elevator, you are in your work environment. Yes, I have heard. Yeah. People have told me to see this one. And yes, it gets very interesting because like the above outside of work person and the work personality are two different people, but they're the same person. It's weird. That's creepy. And it's a comedy. The comedy. It is a comedy. Okay, like John Turturro. Okay. John Turturro and Christopher Walken are in it, and they're very funny, but they're also very charming and endearing and kind of depressing a little bit. But check that out. Severance. It's fantastic, man. It's Apple TV, and also Apple TV has some good movies like Tetris. I think is really good. And I was afraid to see that one because I love Tetris, but I thought, how do you make a movie interesting about Tetris? It's literally just about. I actually did I just did a big breakdown film review on my YouTube channel about Tetris and BlackBerry, but basically it's about the patent, the licensing drama between Russia and the US and
Okay.
Japan. So it's very historically sort of kind of accurate, but it's also very like witty and kind of wild. It's a very good movie. But like, yeah, I was just like, there's good stuff out there, and so a lot of the stuff's not even woke, and it's just like, unfortunately, all this Disney and Netflix stuff is just like oversaturated with politically correct modernizations of stuff that never needed to be modernized. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
and
if you heard,
they force things.
they force it. Like last week
Yeah.
or 2 days ago or whatever, the new Snow White and the Seven Dwarves actress came out and said, well, actually, I can just pull it up here. 19. Let's see. She says news. Find it. Here we go. I don't know if this is actually going to include the same thing I was looking at, but Snow White actress Rachel Zegler reveals live action film is changing the meaning of fairest of them all. So they're doing all of these things. This might not even be the best article for that one. Essentially, what she said is, the reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. So when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who was the most just and who can become a fantastic leader, because women have to be leaders now. They can't just be, princesses.
Well, maybe this story is just not
Yeah.
about that. This story was just about something else. If you want that story, write a new
Make it.
original thing. Make it.
Exactly.
Make that. Don't.
Exactly.
Yes, it's like a revision, almost like a revisionist history thing, where instead of just making something new, this, and I guess to a certain extent it makes some sense from a business perspective. This movie or whatever it is did good before. We think it'll at least make some money instead of risking something, and they do it with females, and they do
Yeah.
it a lot with minorities, where they'll just take something that was maybe like primarily a white show,
Yes.
and then say, okay, this was successful, so make the whole cast women, or make the whole cast black, or make the whole cast different, instead of, which I think is a disservice to those groups.
Yes.
Give them something original, give them something new, give them something
Yes.
that they can grasp onto, that's theirs, instead of giving them the crumbs off the table of things of the past. So they're like, yeah, there's the Ghostbusters, now we have women, and that's great. And it's like, yeah, but people like the original. Why didn't you create a brand new one where it was women, not the Ghostbusters, but maybe something in that vein that could be theirs? Instead, they piss off the people who liked the first one. Not necessarily always with Ghostbusters. I was just throwing that out there as an example.
Yeah. Well, that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, but with a lot of them, they'll do it, and you just go, why would the people in the new one take that as a great thing, as opposed to, we came up with something original and brand new, and it gets to be portrayed by you, instead of, here's something that worked before, so here you go. That's not a positive, in my opinion.
You're 100% right. I have my theories, and some of them aren't very correct politically. But I will just say, I think a lot of these people are not doing it for the right reasons. There are people that like Jordan Peele, for example. Jordan Peele came from Key and Peele, Comedy Central, and he's went into filmmaking, and he's done nothing but create original movies.
Yes.
He created Get Out, and then Us, and then Nope, and then all original characters, all basically exciting genre horror movies. But he's not like stealing from other people. He's making his own kind of canon, sort of like M. Night Shyamalan did, original films.
Whoever heard of such a thing? Original art that's original. What the hell's wrong with you, Lofty? You can't do that anymore. You can't be original. You have to let other people tell you what art you're allowed to do. They have to define it. If they don't like your art, you have to change it. Art is almost, it's dying.
I think another reason I think there's a disconnect is because some of these people who are in this sort of cult I think they deep down, maybe it's subconscious, maybe it's intentional, but I think they're just honestly they just want revenge. Like it's like this reparations thing. It's like, oh yeah, you we're in charge now, and we're gonna subvert all of your characters. We're gonna take all of your all of your childhood icons away from you, and now we own them. I literally think there's this malicious reparations sort of mindset that's like, you know what I mean? Because there's a difference between that and honestly giving a character, you know, making even like a race swap isn't bad by itself. It depends on how and why they do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think so
So
much of it. Sometimes it's not bad. It's they'll
yeah.
interview the writer or the actor or the producer, and they'll just say some effed up
Yep.
crap, and you're like, oh gosh.
Oh, that happens all the
Now
time.
I know the purpose of doing it, and I don't like the purpose of it. If I just would have watched the movie without knowing the whole backstory about why, I probably
Yeah.
would have liked it. But now that you came out and told me, well, we had to do it because ... society sucks. A lot of you people, what you believe sucks. So I had to change it so I can eventually alter your mind about this. I'm like, well, now you lost me, pal. You lost me.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to make, because I agree with you. I do try to push back sometimes, because sometimes an actor or a writer, especially actors, will say something because they think it benefits them in some way on to talk about diversity or whatever on these interviews, when it doesn't actually reflect anything about the movie, and it's just them kind of being woke. And I try to take that, I try to separate that when I can from the content, because you know, sometimes an actor will just be dumb. Like Robert De Niro said something very similar.
Wait, did you say sometimes an actor will be dumb? Yeah. I'll let
Like
it
Robert De
slide. Go
Niro,
ahead. Yeah.
like Robert De Niro. I'll just pull this up on my let's see here. This is my YouTube channel. I just did a video about this recently. I won't play the audio, but here's Robert De Niro.
I won't say the name.
I just make funny memes sometimes, but I have Trump watching him because he's talking about Trump.
Yeah.
But I'll play the, I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear this? I'll play the first part of this because it's kind of funny.
We all know who I'm going to talk about, but I won't say the name. Because that guy is stupid. I mean, look with Trump. People,
You said it. You said
I
it.
hate to say it.
Don't say it. You said it.
I hate to say it.
It's like,
And there are people who think that he could do a good job. Imagine that. How insane that is.
He's not liking it.
Call us.
He is not so he's not liking it. Now there's so many layers to this. This is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is about the creation of the FBI, centered around the brutal murders of a bunch of Native Americans back in, I think, I don't know what decade, like the 40s maybe or something, or whenever this was created. But his whole thing about Trump is funny because I just make this little analogy here where Trump was very favorable to the Native Americans in his presidency, and he gave them a lot of money. He talked to this tribe that was dealing with a lot of kidnappings of young women, and he met with them and did everything he could to help them, and like, so not only is he kind of being a little ignorant here, but Scorsese doesn't want to talk about any of that crap because the movie has nothing to do with Trump. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an example of where I will still watch this movie because I love Scorsese, and I can tell that he's, you know, this guy on the right here is just crazy, De Niro. I'm separating the art from the artist in this case because I know the movie is not about Trump, and De Niro is just being an idiot, you know.
You know, and that one wouldn't bother me either because the movie has nothing to do with that that issue.
Right.
It's when the writer or the producer does in fact say,
yes,
I did this movie because ... And I made the character that way because contemporary socio-political reason.
Or I cast this character not because of merit, but based on their skin color or something, or their sexuality.
On that note, I asked my agent and my manager because they were kind of throwing around the ideas of diversity quotas.
Yeah.
And I called my manager and I said, so is it going to help me at all that my last name's Ortiz? I said, just level with me. It's only me and you on the phone. Is this going to
help or hurt
play
me?
to my benefit? And I was
Yeah.
talking specifically about commercials, and she said, I'm so sorry, but it's not. And I said, why is that? And she said, well, in a commercial, your name, you don't have your name in the credits.
Yeah.
People will watch it and will see a white guy in it.
Yes.
Even though you're Hispanic,
Is
it won't matter.
Is that why so many commercials have mixed race couples now?
It might be. I don't know if they ever truly went through and made like an official quota that they have to follow. That is very interesting. A friend of mine was talking about like the percentage of interracial couples in the country is rather low.
Yeah.
But almost every commercial, I saw one, I swear, it was an Asian father, an African-American mother, I had to have been a Jewish son, and I swear the grandmother was Hispanic.
Oh my God.
And again, I could be wrong. I mean, look at me. I wouldn't think I was Hispanic, right? I would think I was Caucasian. So maybe I'm getting them all mixed up. But if you're just basing it off of the look, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't even remember what the product was. I just remember how crazy it was with that happening.
That's crazy. And the quota thing bothers me in one particular way, which dealing with the writer's strike right now. I guys, if you're, I'm trying to, pointing people back to my live stream that I did like a week or two ago, if you want to learn more about it. But the writer's strike inherently by itself is like, I would support them if they took out some of their crazy demands. So some of the demands center around quotas. They don't come out and say it outright, but if you read the negotiations, they talk about how many writers, like 6 to 8 writers per episode of a show that's shorter than 6 episodes, 10 writers for a show longer than 8 episodes. Like they have these weird quota demands. And I've talked to other people about this. And when I listen to these people talk about it, they very often bring up diversity. They very often bring up, pushing writers onto shows that are, minorities, people of color, so that they can bring in different voices or whatever, like, because that matters somehow. And in my opinion, I'm seeing a lot of this stuff not translate very well to writing, to like producing good shows. And it's like, it's hard for people to support the writers in this situation because we just want good shows. If you're putting out bad content, like the majority of the content you put out, especially Disney Plus, it's terrible right now. Why do you deserve a raise and job security if you're terrible at your job? And why are you asking for more writers on a show when you probably should have less writers, if anything?
Yeah. Well, I would assume, again, assuming, not knowing, that some of that it's possible because of them talking about AI.
Yeah.
And you would, if AI goes in, then they're saying like, well, we would normally have 12 writers. Why don't we just have 6 and have them type some stuff into AI and then they can just tweak it. So now we have fewer. I know that Michael Jamin on Instagram, Jamin. He's a writer. He started a posting every day before the writer's strike, just talking about being a writer and how to get in. And then throughout the strike, he talks about it a lot. He had some very interesting insights, but some of it was like, because the shows are so short.
Yeah.
You're working 3 months a year as opposed to a show that had 22 episodes. So, and obviously the union is there to get people more money and to get more of them working. So naturally that's what they're going to do is you need more writers and you need more money. I mean, that's the whole reason, really.
Yeah. And like I understand because of the shortened seasons, it might be hard between like getting a job for a 6-week run, a show that runs 6 weeks. And then, because that's really 6 to 8 episodes is kind of peak right now for shows. And then it might take 6 months to get another job or 3. And then what do you do in the meantime? So that's why I think residuals should be higher. I think I support the the increased residual payments and like maybe some of the more, financial incentive stuff like that. I do not support quotas for there's too many reasons why. And
Quotas
I've
like
seen-
number of writers, you mean?
I don't think like the WG, like I can pull it up. It's literally, oops, here it is. Oops, is this it? So for example, here's the proposals. If you scroll down, one of the issues I had with some of these, here's like just an example, right? Pre-greenlit rooms, minimum staff of 6 writers. For shows that have not been greenlit, okay?
Not even greenlit.
The studio rejected the proposal. Yeah, not greenlit. Here's another one. Pre-greenlit rooms, minimum staff, guaranteed 10 consecutive weeks of work. And I saw an interview with somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying essentially that like what they're doing now is they used to film a pilot and then the pilot would be successful or not, and then they would greenlight the show. Now they're hiring writers to come in, write the entire show, and then during the pre-greenlit writers room, like they decide whether or not they like what's going, and they'll sometimes 2 weeks into the writing they'll shut the project down if they don't like how it's turning out. Sometimes 4 or 5 weeks in they'll be like, oh, I really like this, let's start, but they're demanding 10 weeks of work, and it's just like if I was a person trying to fund this project, I wouldn't pay somebody for when they did 2 weeks of work. I wouldn't pay them 10 weeks of work.
Yeah, that makes sense. If that's what it says, then yeah, I think I would be with you on that. I'd love to hear their logic behind that.
And when you have a show like, I want to say Loki, the new TV show coming out, season 2 was just announced or whatever. Well, there's 3 writers. Okay. You don't need 6 writers in every show. Sometimes that's too many cooks in the kitchen. That's a bad idea. And it's like, and I heard of somebody talking. It was Charles Mason, the guy who wrote The Last of Us and Chernobyl on HBO. He came out and said, sort of openly that, and then some other writer that was next to him, it was a black woman, they were saying a lot of people of color need more exposure in Hollywood. So we need to add more writers in terms of the minimum quota thing. We need to add more writers so we can get more people of color on these projects so that we can basically, artificially infuse, diversity into every show that exists, and it's like, whoa, what are you talking about here? Like, why? I was with you when you're talking about residuals and streaming revenue and be transparency with the studios and some of this stuff here, foreign streaming residuals. But no, I'm not gonna support you if you just want to bring on 3 black writers onto a show that don't deserve to be there, just so that they can sit there and be counted as a diversity quota. Like, that's stupid.
That's very insulting.
It's very insulting.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not going to hire the best. I'm going to hire you.
Yep.
Just because I need someone that looks like you hanging around. It's
ridiculous.
That used to be considered a horrible, horrible thing to do to someone. If you have a writer who's black or Hispanic or female or whatever, and they're good, then then definitely hire them.
Right. Or give them. But the one thing that Hollywood's doing really well right now is producing a lot more shows from different cultures, which I think is a good thing. I think
absolutely
shows like Beef, which is a Netflix TV show. It's Asian American community in LA, and it's a fantastic show. It's really, really good. It's Stephen Yoon and some other well-known Asian actors, and it's all run by an Asian writers, staff, but it's all Asian American. Right. There's a show on I want to say Showtime or HBO called Them, which is a horror show about it's a black horror show centered around a black family.
Right.
It's I want perspectives. I want more Jordan Peele's and Guillermo del Toro's and I don't care about any of that stuff. I just don't think a show like The Witcher needs to have a bunch of race swaps or Rings of Power about Lord of the Rings, just so that like people can see themselves on the screen, or that like when you start getting into that kind of stuff, you just lose me.
Yeah.
But
Well, now if Jordan Peele and I can never say his name right.
Guillermo del Toro, yeah,
Guillermo del Toro. If they came out and said, I always make sure I hire a certain number of women or black people or Hispanic people,
sure.
you don't think that would affect your view at all?
Well, it depends. It depends. If it's a Mexican, if it's a show set in Mexico, like a Mexican horror movie, it would kind of make sense to me.
Right.
If they're on location, but no, I think a show should, like, for example, the like I'm trying to come up with like Quentin Tarantino, for example. I think he writes characters of different backgrounds really well. He doesn't have to be a black man in order to write a story about slavery.
Right.
And I don't think there's a bunch of different angles you can take with this, but it just gets sort of icky when you have quotas, and you refuse to allow men to write about women, and vice versa, and suddenly gay characters or straight people can't play gay characters anymore, and when it starts to lean towards that idea of you can only do what you have experienced, then I don't like it anymore.
I saw a lot of different interviews with Richard Dreyfuss lately.
Yeah.
Talking about that same thing. And for him, it always just came down to the art. Let the artist create without putting, restrictions on them. Otherwise, it's not real art.
Yeah, and I think men should be able to write good feminine characters. Like Woody Allen is a classic example of this. Before he got, he's a very controversial person to talk about, but when he was in his prime, every woman in Hollywood wanted to work with him because they liked how he portrayed women in his films. Tarantino is another good example. I think Noah Baumbach. Like, there's a bunch of writers out there that write women really well that are men. There's so as long as that is like kind of, it is complicated though, because I think Jordan Peele should. And he said he doesn't want to ever cast a lead white actor in his movies. And I don't have a problem with it, because I think he's being genuine. I think he just wants to make stories about sort of his understanding of like his culture, the black community, and horror and analysis through that lens. It's like, well, let him do that. Like, I don't criticize Paul Thomas Anderson or Martin Scorsese for not making movies about black people. Like, Martin Scorsese does just New York Italian. That's what he knows how to do, So that doesn't bother me. It's just like when you get this multicultural diversity, there has to be every race represented on set. It's like, that's when it gets stupid in my opinion. But it's complicated.
Yeah. And then it just plays into, and it's not just art, obviously. In our, quotas in almost every job that there is. So it's not just artistic; it's political. It's
every industry.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing a pushback. Like John Hamm, who's famous for Mad Men, he went on Bill Maher the other day and talked about this. He said from his perspective in the industry in Hollywood, he thinks people are kind of tired of it, even though they're not saying it out loud. They just are. Right. And we're starting to see a little bit of that come through, and people are becoming less likely to, shout their activism on Twitter as much as they did maybe 3-4 years ago. And I don't know, what do you have a perspective on that? Like, since you've been to Hollywood, like, do you think maybe there's an underbelly of people who don't really care as much about, I think you mentioned this earlier, actually.
Yeah, sometimes they say they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. A lot of times people are uninformed, but they
Yeah.
just have an opinion. Everyone has to have an opinion, and I gotta ask them, "Oh, do you know anybody that has that?" Well, no, I don't know anybody. Oh, was there like a show that you've heard like through the grapevine that the people? Well, no, but okay. Then what exactly are we discussing right now?
Yeah.
Where is it? So I can look at it and make an opinion on an individual basis.
Yes. Where is this racism or sexism? Like, what exactly is the problem? Not just like, oh, I heard. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's a good point. Like individual basis. And
Yeah, almost like you want to judge
yeah.
someone on the content of their character
Yes.
as opposed to the color of their skin. I think somebody said that once. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It's getting irritating. But for the blackening to be a movie title and not hiring practice. That is apparently a good movie. Thank you, Sketch, for your wisdom.
Well
Good
thought
evening,
of.
Snafu and Jack and Joshua. Killers of Flower Moon. I agree. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see that. Another one is Napoleon. I'm excited for that one. Like I said, there's a lot of good television out there. Succession is a masterpiece. I think Severance is really good. There's other shows.
Can I ask you an opinion here?
Go for
So I haven't been seeing superhero movies for a while. I kind of got enough of them. And my father, for Father's Day, is like, we all need to go see The Flash.
Yeah.
So I went and saw The Flash, and it was what I expected it to be. Hence, I liked it. As someone who's into comics and stuff, how was The Flash?
Look,
In your opinion, the film.
I'm not a DC connoisseur, so I didn't read Flashpoint, but
Okay.
But I am a big fan of DC in general, just from the characters. But I thought the movie was just a mess. I thought it was goofy, and it should be a little bit goofy because the Flash is sort of this sort of goofy character. I mean, the way he moves and things kind of has to be a little exaggerated, but it was just too much. There was too many. There was like the villain was terrible. There really was no villain. It was just Zod from another movie. And I don't know. I just didn't like it. I think I rated it like a 4 out of 10, something like that.
But now, did you go in? Be honest. Did you go in thinking it was going to be good?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I went in thinking it would be what it was. Hence, I was fine.
Yeah, that's a good point to make.
Yeah.
I have low expectations when it comes to DC and Marvel, and even I didn't even watch Indiana Jones because I'm probably not going to like it.
Yeah, I won't go see it.
The new one, and I'm also plugged into all these online communities, so I'm very hyper aware of like the zeitgeist of like what who is this movie for? Like all of my friends are movie critics basically, so I'm very aware of all that stuff. I'm more interested in movies like Oppenheimer, Napoleon, Killers of the Flower Moon. David Fincher has a new movie coming out this year. That's kind of what I like. Original films, even like Dune, even though it's a sequel, is fascinating to me. I think they're doing a good job with that film. But with Disney and some of these other people are like they just don't get it. Like
Disney's very strange. I don't know what they're doing.
They're stuck in this same thing for the past 5 years, and they can't get out of it. It's just this lazy writing. It's gender swapping, race swapping, lazy writing, rewriting. All their live action reboots have to be of their old stuff, right? Like Cinderella, like Disney, like Mulan. They all have to be like through the lens of modern fourth wave feminism, and they're losing money. Like The Flash. Look at this, Indiana 5. Indiana Jones 5
Oh, didn't that
made
cost an
less?
insane amount of money?
Yeah,
Man.
320 million or something. And it made less than Oppenheimer at the bottom. I believe. Am I right, chat? It's like Oppenheimer's just about to pass it because Oppenheimer hit 400 million. Oppenheimer's $100 million budget.
Wow.
And Oppenheimer beat Mission Impossible even, and The Flash flopped, and The Little Mermaid flopped, and it's terrible. And all these shows on Disney Plus are terrible, horrible.
I agree. Well, now you mentioned Loki earlier. How did
Yeah.
you feel about season 1?
I thought it was like maybe one of the better ones, but I still think
Yeah.
it was. I think the writing. Something is going on. Disney is hiring very amateur sort of people that are not very witty and they're not very good at storytelling. There's something wrong with Disney. I don't know what it is.
I heard that was a lot with She-Hulk.
Yeah, she was terrible.
I heard like that's what and everyone was talking about the writing and storylines, characters, like basically every aspect of writing is what everyone that I heard that was complaining about She-Hulk did not like.
I think it's some weird culture of casting, and whoever is like in charge of putting these writers on the scripts and then greenlighting all this stuff. It's this like they're just playing it safe, and they're backwards. They think they're appealing to the majority when it's like, no, if you make them like look at Oppenheimer, look at Mario and Top Gun, like the majority will go see a movie if it's not like woke or like pushing political messages. Like Mario made $1.4 billion.
I haven't seen it yet. I cannot believe I haven't seen it yet, but
it's so good.
Is it?
It's
okay.
Even Barbie that is a very controversial movie right now, but I saw it and I didn't hate it.
Now, was it the thing with me in The Flash where it was what you expected, hence you didn't hate it, or?
I was expecting it to be way more. I was expecting the script to be terrible, but the movie to be funny in like a weird kind of Elf but worse kind of way.
That's what I was thinking. Is that not what it is?
No, the script is very kind of clever. It's very preachy, but it's also like sort of clever. I don't know if you know Noah Baumbach or Greta Gerwig, but they're pretty artistic when they're good writers, I think. Now, the movie has some preachy political parts to it, but it's a very clever movie.
Now, the preachy political parts, does it fit? Does it make sense for it to be there? Because if it does, I'm totally fine with it.
It kind of, man, it's hard to say because I think some of it doesn't fit. Other parts do. I think Barbie has always been a feminist icon. She's been president. She's been an astronaut. She's been, all these things, which is fine. Like little girls should have a movie to go see that that they can do whatever they want. They can be president. And there's a Barbie president in the movie. And it's like, some people thought that was woke, but it's not woke because Barbie has been president. So, but other parts of the movie are sort of bashing men in a certain way.
In a comedic way?
In a sort of comedic way, like they exaggerate how men sort of behave a little bit, like she gets slapped on the ass, and it's supposed to be like, some people think it really is it's like a Rorschach test, honestly, because some of that stuff to me, I thought was funny. Like, right. I think making fun of like a beta male, for example, is kind of funny. Like somebody who, her husband in the movie, one of the characters is just this guy. He does anything for his wife. She's Mexican, and he's like he's learning Spanish for her, and I'll get you a latte, honey. Okay, and like I think, you know what I mean. I think kind of making fun of that personality can be funny. It's not necessarily offensive to men,
right.
But other parts of the movie we're saying there's this big speech about how women have it really hard in the world. They're like they have to do this, but they can't do that. There's the expectations, and so it did kind of go. It kind of like forced everything into like a 30-second speech, and it was really kind of cringe. But I'm telling you, it's kind of a Rorschach test. Like there are parts of the movie that work really well, and it's open to interpretation. The beginning of the movie, some people thought was an abortion allegory when it wasn't. Like it's weird, man.
I just know I all my friends on social media, if any guy posted that they saw it, they would say, not my cup of tea, or I didn't really
Yeah.
want to go or something. But I had like 5 different females say I saw it and I cried.
Yes, that's another thing. My mom did too. Even though there's some sort of feminist kind of talking points stuff going on, and like even conservative women kind of had some issues with it, but all my conservative women friends liked the movie. They thought it was poignant. Like it's weird. And the reason why I brought it up is because Barbie is an original story. It's not a reboot. It's not a sequel. It's not a remake. It is an IP, a famous character,
Right.
but it's something new and fresh. And what she did with it, especially with her like 2000, her Kubrick and her artistic vision, like literally pulled from Hitchcock, Kubrick, The Red Shoes, Singing in the Rain, Oklahoma, Wings of Desire, French New Wave cinema. Like she is so eclectic.
In the Barbie movie?
In the Barbie movie, you will see so many references to classic films, even like Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, and Grease are like all over the place.
Really?
It's beautiful. The movie is actually kind of stunning with its like production design. I'm telling you, it's not what people expected.
Maybe I was seeing the wrong teasers because I didn't get any of that
It's
vibe from the marketing.
The marketing was like, hey, this is a funny, haha, dumb, stupid comedy. But
But the way you just described it sounds actually kind of cool.
I know it's cool, and people,
I
and
should have pushed
here's the
that a
thing:
little more.
if you aren't like a movie buff, you might not. That might go over your head. Like there's a lot of people that didn't get any of those references.
Oh, okay. See, I would probably get all those references.
If you're a fan of Singing in the Rain, when she does that one dance routine in that like weird space with the scarf that's really long and stuff.
Yeah.
That is like mimicked in the film, and there's a big homage to Grease, and there's so many homages.
Oh, see, I would like that. That I would like. Yeah.
But like I said, the movie is so polarizing, so you don't know who to trust. You might as well just watch it and find out,
God, all right. Fine. I'll see it. I'll get back to you.
I know. I'm telling you, it's slightly entertaining. Even if you think it's not your cup of tea, I think there's parts of it. There's this crazy like 20-minute part where Ryan Gosling
doesn't have a shirt on.
He discovers, it's so funny. He discovers the real world that where the real world men actually are in positions of power, whereas in the Barbie world he's an accessory and he doesn't even have a house. He's just homeless. And he's like, his mind is blown. Like he sees men on the dollar bills and things like the currency.
See, that's
and then
funny. I think that's funny.
It's funny. And he comes back to the Barbie world and he turns the Barbie land into a patriarchy. And it's kind of adorable because it's his version of it. So there's like men riding horses and like, it's so funny to me.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a great part of the movie, man. But some people are like, the real world's not a patriarchy. And I'm like, yeah, but the movie's not saying the real world is a patriarchy.
The movie's about kind of doll.
Yeah, the movie's kind of poking fun at all that stuff in a way, but
it's more fantasy, yeah.
I could talk about it for a while. I've been on so many streams about it. Thank you, Sketch, for whatever that means. Horses. Barbie was hilarious. Even some feminist parts. I'm just not sure Gerwig meant all of it to be funny or appealing or not. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Oppenheimer's great. I just love both of this. Oppenheimer's a much better movie, but yeah.
Do I have to see them back to back? And if so, which one should I watch first?
You should probably watch. I watched Barbie first, and then I saw Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Didn't really. I think if you watch the other way around, it might be better because Oppenheimer kind of leaves you contemplating like death at the end of the movie.
Oh, and that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that would be a better way to watch it. But I did want to ask you, like, I guess we'll wrap up here shortly. But you were on you've done some work in Hollywood. You were on an episode of The Office.
Yes.
Is that correct? And you played a mole guy.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that quick? Because I couldn't find that episode on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah. So central casting database.
Yeah.
This is back in the day. It's run a lot differently now, but I was only there. I was only in LA for a year, maybe a year and a half, and I got a call, and they said, are you available on this day? Like the director of this episode of The Office, like handpicked you based on your photo. And like I said, I'd only been there a year and a half, and I was just doing background work. And usually, you called a hotline, and they told you what they needed, and then you dial the right number and say, "Hey, I'm Andrew Ortiz, and I think I fit that role." And they're sitting on the other end on a computer, and they look at your photo, and they're like, "No, you don't. Goodbye," and that's it. And you just go. So for them to call me, I was like, "That's so weird." I was very excited. Being from Pennsylvania, the office is, the end all be all. Yeah, and I went in, and Steve Carell calls me Mole, gives me a nickname, so I had to go in the makeup trailer, and they put a mole on me. And Jenna Fisher came down and sat in the one chair next to me, and we had a little chat, and then Steve Carell sat in the other makeup chair on the other side of me, and we had a little chat, and very fun, very exciting. They were just so normal. "Hi, I'm Jenna. Hi, I'm Steve."
Nice.
Because most, of course, why wouldn't they be normal? They're just people,
Right.
And then was it Mindy? "Hi, how are you?" Everyone just very, very nice. And I was only on set like 8.5 hours. Not even 8.5 hours. I remember that day was just a very short thing. Go in here, sit down. He comes in, he does the spiel. We get a quick shot of everyone's face, so it was considered like featured background.
Yeah.
Whereas you're actually going to be like right there in the thick of it. So it was season 5. It was called Lecture Circuit.
Lecture Circuit. Okay,
Lecture
I'll look
Circuit.
that one
It's
up.
like, I think 16, 17. It was a 2-parter. So it was part 1, part 2. And in part 2, they do Last Week on The Office. So I got to like be in both of them. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had a great time. They were all cool. And then I was part of the Utica branch.
Okay.
Of Dunder Mifflin. And at the end of that season, they have a volleyball tournament. So then they called everybody who was in that scene that I was in, because they're Utica. They want to try and get as many of them as they can in the finale to represent Utica in the volleyball team. So then I got to spend time in the finale. And in the finale, you do not see me at all, but we worked 5 days, like 8 to 12 hours a day. So I made a lot of money being in the finale that you don't see me in, and I made very little money being in the 2 episodes where you just like really notice me, and there's an interaction.
That's interesting. Well, good. I mean, good for you though. Do you is that scene on YouTube? I know there's a scene where there's a podcast where Mindy and who's the podcast with the 2 girls?
Jenna Fisher and Kinsey. Angela?
Right. And then I saw somebody break down a scene you were in, they were talking about it.
Oh yeah, a friend of mine sent that to me. They actually took like 15 seconds and talk about Mole.
Oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah, it's very.
This is
very,
it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. What's it? Office Ladies? I think it's called Office.
So they said you had to come in 15 minutes early. I was just listening to it. I don't know if you heard that, but
15 minutes.
Fun. Yeah, to put the mole on. So Mike, is the gimmick that Michael couldn't stop looking at the mole?
No, that would be more Austin Powers. This was, he gives everyone a system that you can memorize people's names just by.
I forgot. I was trying to show this, and I just forgot. Anyway,
there you go.
Yeah,
there it is.
So what's the
hair. Oh man.
So what was the gimmick again? You were.
So he's teaching. It's a lecture circuit. So he's as a lecturer, and basically how you can remember someone's name just by something about their appearance. So he just points at everyone. He's like, Baldy, Mole, Black Woman, Mexico, Sugar Boobs. Like, he just goes around the room.
That's right.
And gives everyone a nickname. And
So
then
your
they throw
nickname
mini
was
Mounds
Mole?
bars in the air, and yes, and so it's not real, and
That's hilarious. So
yeah, a lot of fun.
yeah, I remember that. That's something Michael would say. He's like, "Hey, sugar tits, Mole,
Yeah,
brown eyes,
lazy
whatever,
eyes. Yeah,
lazy eyes, Toby."
That cast, they were so great. When we did the finale, they was it Ed Helms and gosh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, they would bring banjos and guitars, and we were out at it was a picnic because it was a volleyball tournament. So we were outside, and they would all just get in a circle, and they would start playing, and then they would improvise song lyrics, and then they kind of encouraged like some of the extras in the background people to gather around, and they just were having so much fun, and they were all so nice. And it's not like a lot of sets that I was on, people were jerks, but they're just usually mellow, or they kind of leave you alone, or they don't. But they were just, it was like they were having a party.
Yeah.
So it made it a really, really fun show to
That's
kind of be
exciting.
on. Yeah.
Camelot's in the chat. What's up, Camelot? That's my buddy. Guy, I watched part of your stream last night. It was a wild stream, Camelot. With was it last night? I might have caught the rerun with Nick Ricada. But thanks for joining, buddy. We're just talking to my friend here, Andrew, about his Kickstarter. He's raising money for a TV show, a local pilot episode. It's sort of like sitcom vibes, but set in a hotel. And it's a naive, overzealous staff from a luxury hotel in Philly keep moving forward in the face of PC culture. I'm wondering about this last part. Do you think do you have room? Are you leaving room for like people who are, you said naive. So are there characters who don't understand PC culture at all and are just like fumbling through faux pas and things like that?
Yes. And then there's some that do understand it and try to it just mainly specifically two characters.
Yeah.
That go through that process, but trying to explain to him the what PC is and why certain things are offensive and how you can discover them, and the other one's like learning on the fly about it, which of course leads to a lot of problems. But
are there any like woke staff members that conflict with some of the more?
Yes.
Yeah.
In this episode, we mainly just focus on one staff member who feels that he is woke without knowing what woke is. So, and he doesn't quite grasp all the concepts of political correctness, but he thinks he does. So in and of itself is very funny. While trying to explain to someone else, he is not explaining it correctly. So even his political correctness is somewhat politically incorrect. It starts, he just finishes a great book that he just read, and it was called Marxism, and it's MARK''S-ISM, written by E. Leitz. And this puts many ideas in his head that he now tries to get his friend to go get on board with.
That's exciting.
That's the main through line. But there's, and here's the thing. If you remember political incorrectness, what would now be considered political incorrectness, like Seinfeld or The Office.
Right. Or Friends, maybe, although.
Yeah, even things like that.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorites that's actually a little older, 1996, which I found out about recently, the Dana Carvey show.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Go on Crackle, watch every episode of the Dana Carvey show, or there's a full documentary on Hulu called Too Funny to Fail. It is amazing. Every famous funny guy wrote on the show or was in the show.
Dana Carvey has a podcast, I think, with David Spade right now.
Yeah, Fly on the Wall.
Yeah,
Fly on the Wall podcast. Oh yeah,
it's great.
It's great. But so just my political incorrectness is on par with that. It's like some people would say, "Oh, this isn't casual. That bad." Yeah, it's not some R-rated sexual innuendo, nonstop, just constant race jokes.
Right.
Like that's not it. It's It would
like
it
old
would
Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. It's like that kind of stuff, that kind of vibe.
Yeah. So what would be considered old school to most people, they'll just go, "Oh, that I get it. That's funny." And some people might, take offense.
Well, man, this is a great idea. Camelot likes it. He's got good taste and stuff. And I wish you the best, man. And if you need help with anything, maybe I'd be interested because I'm not too far from there. Maybe we'll just keep in touch or something, and then see where it goes, and then
You want a line?
What's that?
You want a
Yeah,
line?
give me a line. I'll walk in and I'll say, do you got any balls? And then and the guy's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm like, you got any basketballs? I came up with the worst line possible.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do with that.
No, don't use that. That was the
We
worst.
may
line
change it up
possible.
a bit.
But would you dare make a joke as controversial as married with children? I'm not sure what that.
Would I? Yes.
I'm not sure what that is. That a show, Married with Children?
Oh, my dear boy. Yes, Married with Children. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm stupid.
Yeah. Oh, do you know? No, not Love and Marriage. No, you don't remember.
I never watched it, but I know of it.
Okay. Oh, interesting fact about that. A black gentleman wrote it as a black family, but it was so crude that they said, we maybe don't want to represent, a black family being so, like this and icky and politically incorrect. So then they just made it a white family.
Wow. Well,
yeah. What are you going to do? But oh yeah, it's so a lot of the jokes are very sexist, very sexual. So yeah, if you have the right character say the right thing, it's always funny.
Yeah, it's true. Even
depends.
Even
So much depends on who's saying it.
Even the Bill Cosby show is kind of a little bit edgy at times too, and I don't know. Like there are shows, like I said, Succession gets away with a lot of politically incorrect humor, and it's funny. I think they get away with it though because all their characters are rich, wealthy white people, and it's sort of a satirical way of. They straddle this line. It's kind of brilliant actually because they make the characters in like hateable and likable at the same time. Kind of like Walter White, you know what I mean? Like you're supposed to sort of you can't help but like him even though he's a horrible person.
The bad guy's the good guy. Yeah.
That's kind of how this show is, and it treats sort of like people who are sort of like offensive and rude and sexist, but in a weirdly, oddly endearing sort of just natural way of like people existing. And it's funny and it's clever and everybody likes it. So
well, I have to see it. A guy I went to school with is actually in it.
Oh, awesome.
Well, yeah, he's like a news anchor. And
the acting is fantastic. I mean, Brian Cox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Brian Cox is in it. He's the main patriarch figure.
Yeah. Since I've been working on this script and a bunch of other scripts, I'm a little out of the loop of like all the contemporary shows that are going on.
Yeah.
And I usually watch, a lot of comedies and stuff. But yeah, some of the things you mentioned, I can definitely have some time to. Oh, what do we got? We need to bring back the
No Ma'am Club, Married with Children reference.
Yeah.
Remember Frasier?
Oh yeah. Spin-off from Cheers.
Yeah. So, well,
it wouldn't get greenlit like most older shows. It wouldn't get greenlit nowadays. That's what they always say. You can't make that show today. But everybody wants that type of show. That's what I don't understand. So many people want that type of show and love when they see that type of show. And they're like, but we can't make it. So it's just where the money comes from. If the people who are fitting the bill say, I can't make it, all the artists, the whole world could want it. And if they say, I'm not going to produce it, then
yeah, somebody will though. That's the thing. Somebody will eventually,
and it will be so well received.
Yes, and
it's probably called Checked Out. I'm just saying
it's probably called Checked Out.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like in another way, it reminds me of when like big budget movies were like, oh, you can't make it that way. You got to make it PG-13. You can't make that rated R. And then Deadpool comes out and Logan, and they make so much money.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, maybe we're doing this wrong. Maybe people actually want to see stuff that we don't think they want to see.
Yeah. what kind of bubble are you living in? I don't know. I mean, when I just go out and
Yeah.
meet people,
Yes.
everyone, I hardly know anyone who's politically correct.
Yeah, I agree, dude. It's
I mean,
weird in real life.
yeah, I was in LA. I was in the Bel Air and Beverly Hills and interacting with these people, mainly through catering. While I was there, I was
Yeah.
catering. And then I come, more back here, more blue collar, more that I've hardly met any politically correct people in my
I
life,
know.
no matter where I go.
They're all on the internet. They don't actually exist.
I'm beginning to believe that. I'm so beginning to believe that.
Yep.
I went to go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
In LA, everyone is so sensitive. You're very careful about stuff.
Yep.
And for a while there, I kind of oversaw some of the staff. So what they call it, captain, right? So I would oversee the staff. So then I have to also, keep it PG. I came. How do I want to make sure I don't say anything wrong. Okay, I came back and started working somewhere, and within 5 minutes, I heard like 5 phrases that you don't say. And I would, after each one, I just looked around like, because it didn't offend me, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how loud? Why did you say that so loud? Are you out of your dang mind? And everyone was cool with it, and everyone laughed. And then they would all say it, and you're in a, I don't want to say where, you're in a place where there's a lot of noise, so you're saying things very loudly. And
Yes.
I was just, it felt so good. Felt so good.
Yeah, and even if you just go on YouTube and look up some of these clips from The Office, like my favorite one is when Michael Scott, not my favorite, it's one of the good ones, when Michael, or when Michael and Oscar, he's like, look, I don't have a problem with gay people. See Oscar, and then he's like,
Yes.
look, let's kiss, and he like awkwardly kisses him,
Yeah.
and it's so funny. It has overwhelming majority of people on YouTube are like giving a thumbs up.
I have to ask
thumbs
you
up rating.
when it just in general, like a generalized number, when was the last time you saw that episode?
I just watch clips a lot. Maybe like a year ago.
Because when I was setting up my computer for this, that episode and that scene was on the television in my living room.
Oh no, that's hilarious.
Yes, it aired an hour and a half ago or so.
That's a crazy coincidence.
And I thought, are you bringing this up because you had your television on before we started? Because that's the exact scene that played.
No way, dude. That's hilarious. No, it's just that's the one I always remember of being like sort of the most awkward.
Yeah, if the character's likable, if you can like him for some reason, you glance over so much of what they said, or you let it slide. Yeah.
And this one
definitely resist like at first. But
it's one of my favorites because Andy is trying to explain to Oscar that he doesn't think he's gay, but he's like, Oscar, you're gay. Maybe you know better.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
And these conversations are hilarious, and everybody likes them. Everybody.
Yeah, everybody, even these actors, and then he's asking people like, maybe I'm gay.
Oh, I don't really do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then Michael comes in at the end and says, "Oh, this is my favorite part. I'll just play this clip. This is my
okay, I made it all up.
even the fact that I'm gay?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank
so
God.
Funny. Like, how do you not know? Andy,
sorry.
Andy, you're crazy, Andy. Anyway, that's just makes me laugh. Everybody laughs at it. So we just gotta literally gatekeep all of our hobbies from all of these people that probably don't even exist, but just stop caring anymore. Just who cares? Like they're not. If you don't care, you can't get canceled.
Yeah, man. But the cancel culture is strong.
It is strong. Yeah, it's still strong. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, man. We were going for about hour and 50 minutes or so. I think we talked about a lot. We talked about the industry, talked about your creative ideas and movies and shows and things like that. Anything else you wanted to add here and at the end of the wrapping up?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
If I recommend going, if you do go to check the Kickstarter,
Yep.
Watch the video, explains it much more succinctly.
Here it is.
Lines written out with a script. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you want to see a breakdown, a video of the breakdown of the characters, just done in a like 40 seconds per character, just very silly, in a comedic way, go to the YouTube checked out page. I think it's, oh gosh, let me make sure I give them the right name. Is it checked out? Oh, give me a second.
Checked out.
YouTube, is it checked out pilot or is it just checked out? Because I think it's just checked out. You got to use it.
I see your page on here.
I think they might even be on my page as well. Let me. As a matter of fact, if they're on my page,
here's your page.
This is you after drinking a cup.
Sorry.
Sorry. That
Yes.
Was an ad. Go to the shorts.
Some of these
Okay, there you go. Boom. You get 40 seconds of each character described by a horrible impersonation of Rod Serling.
Mr. Rod Sterling from the Twilight Zone.
It's the Twilight Zone. It's in Twilight Zone verbiage.
And Mr. Thong, Jorge, Nancy, the maid, and Marcus and Andy.
Yes.
So there you go, guys. And yeah, just keep an eye on this Kickstarter, and maybe I'll have Andrew back on again somewhere down the line. And just support indie artists, guys, and in every community. Not if you're into comics, that's great, but if you're also into shows and films and television, we need creative people in those industries to be pumping out content that's not hijacked by some of these political people, and we should support them. So, but yeah, so this is your YouTube channel, Andrew Ortiz. I will link this in the chat as well.
Yeah, it's the only Andrew Ortiz. There's a bunch of Andrew Ortizes. It's the only one where the guy in the picture is a white guy. So there you go.
So yes, and it's in the description as well, guys. So thanks for joining, everybody. I appreciate everybody who's popped in, and Camelot and all those people. And if you are watching this tomorrow, I appreciate you watching this, and or whenever you are. And thanks, Andrew, for joining. I love interviewing people and just talking, because I have so many hobbies, dude. I'm obsessed with shows and films and comics and anime and gaming. I do 3D printing as a hobby. I breed reptiles. So I think I'm kind of finding a weird niche on YouTube where I just talk to as many people as I can and about all these things. And
gives you great perspective, man.
Absolutely.
Great perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate people like Rogan and Russell Brand and the people who can kind of have a different sort of wider perspective on life. So that's kind of
people that are genuine.
Yes,
are the best.
For sure. Well, smash the like button, everybody, and say goodbye to Andrew. And thanks for joining, everybody. I'm going to be on later this week on another stream. I'll pull some. We're probably going to catch up on a bunch of different pop culture related stuff and do some AI artwork also.
Oh,
so
nice.
Stay tuned. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. All right, everybody. Peace out. And I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.